Hello everyone and welcome back. It's Chala from Crafting Through the Chaos of Life. Thank you for joining me for today's video. We are actually going to be making some beads and buttons for the hashtag ABC April 2025 challenge that is going on with Margaret at 7 Plaza and Tony at Crafting by Tony. I think it's Crafty by Tony, sorry. So all you need today is some scrap papers and just really some scrap papers, some embossing powder, a heat gun, some glue, and maybe your Nouveau crystal drops or glossy accents. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I know we all have these paper strips in our stash of various sizes and widths, and we don't really know what to do with. And they may even include some branding strips from your 12 by 12 paper pads. Well, never fear, today's project we are going to be busting some of these scrap pieces. Now there was a tool I didn't mention, or I forgot to mention, is if you have a metal knitting needle or something that is thin and round. You don't want it too big. You could possibly use a pen, but the thinner around the better, as we'll be wrapping the paper around this to create our bead. So our bead is actually wrapped around this, and then we're actually going to be using this as well when we go to the embossing stage. Okay, so to start, let's pick some strips. Now there are templates that you can get online to create different kind of shapes of buttons, like this one here. So this one, the strip starts out wide and then goes narrow and wide again. So you can cut your papers like that. And let's see if we can do it. Typically the scrapbook paper or thinner papers work best. This is not too bad. Let's try one of these. It's a little bit thicker. It's a coloring page sheet. But let's pick a few and see what we can get done. What else do I have? Oh, this is from that book page that I showed you yesterday, or that Tangled Garden book. That might be fun to play with. Dictionary page is always fun. And let's see if we have any smaller ones we could possibly use. That might work. Okay, let's see what we can get done here. All right, you're also going to need some glue. Let's do a simple one first. So I'm going to take these beads and just put them back in my little handmade bead. Look at this. This one was done with music paper. Look how cute that one is. I love that one. Just so adorable. And then you can put these on your dangles or have them as hanging off, the edge of your spines. Okay, let's go ahead and start with this one here. So what we want to do is we want to start by rolling. Sorry, my fingers aren't working today. We want to start by curving the paper, and maybe I'll try and zoom in a bit for you. Okay. We want to start by rolling the paper around the knitting needle or whatever round object you have, and just kind of folding that over. Then what we want to do is back it off a little bit and then add some glue. Now your liquid glue is probably your best bet here, but we're going to add a little bit of glue there and then trying to keep it tight like you're rolling a sleeping bag. I know that's never a fun task, but then we're going to roll that over top of the glue so that it holds, and we want to try to keep it as tight of a roll as possible. That will give us our nice bead. And with this one, it doesn't matter that there's a hole right here. That's going to get wrapped up. And you don't have to necessarily make sure everything's even. It just depends on how you want your bead to look. If you want it to go long and kind of obscure and cattywampus, go ahead and do that. I'm trying to keep mine fairly straight. I want it like a tube, kind of like this one. It's tube shaped. So we're just going to go ahead and roll that. Like I said, there's lots of different templates on how to cut your papers or your strips, or how you can alter them to create different shapes of beads. So go ahead and check those out. I just kind of make mine up as I go. So sorry, I'm just kind of pulling a little bit, trying to keep it straight, adding a little bit of glue as I move along. And the longer the paper, the thicker your bead is going to be. Oops. Just really rolling it along. Again, trying to make sure my paper is a little bit taut. Roll, roll, roll. Keeping it snug. There we go. This is going to be a really cool one, I think. You are going to get glue on your mat, so if that bothers you, you might want to bring in a different craft mat or a piece of paper so your mat doesn't get all gluey. I don't mind. That's why I have my craft mat, is to get it messy, and I can always wipe it off later. Okay, we're almost at the end. Rolling that along. And at the end you want to make sure you have a good amount of glue, just so that it keeps it all together. There we go. Just grab my cloth and wipe off that excess glue. And then you can pull it off, and so you see you have your bead all made. This one I didn't get perfect, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. It's handmade. That's what it's all about. And then what we're going to do is we'll dip this into the embossing powder. And I need my my VersaFine, not my StazOn, where are you? Here it is. My Versamark, sorry, watermark stamp, or if you have, I think I have a dauber here as well. If you have this emboss it dabber, that works as well. So we've got these two. I'll use my gunkier one for this project. Okay, so we'll just keep that handy. Now let's go ahead and roll another one. Let's try to do a shape with this one. So on this one, I'm just going to fold the paper in half, as close to half as possible. This one again is a bit thicker, so it could be a little trickier to work with, but I think we'll be able to manage. I'm really interested in doing the dictionary page one, because it's a nice old dictionary page. Okay, so we'll fold that in half. And then on this one, we want a wide edge here, and we want to go thin and then back wide. So let's grab our scissors, and I'm just going to kind of cut wide, and then we're going to go thin here, like this, and go wide again. Let's see if this works out. Get rid of our little scraps. Okay, so can you see the shape of that? And what side do we want to use? Let's use this side. So this will be the side that's going to be showing. And this one is going to be a long one. So we'll start it off by kind of shaping it, just so we can get it started. This is the hardest part, is getting the whole thing started. Okay, so I've got that where it's curled now. You can see that. It'll be a little bit easier to glue now because it's already got that bit of a shape. Oh, hello. I don't know why my sound is turned on for that. Let's just fix that so that doesn't happen again. There we go. And then now we're going to go ahead and start rolling. Again, trying to make sure it's a little bit tight so that we keep that nice cylinder shape. And then we'll add some more glue as we roll, keeping it nice and tight. See if I can kind of keep it even too. Make back off a little bit and start again here. Trying to keep that bit in the middle so that we get that kind of narrowed out shape that we created. Like this. Add some more glue. And I don't really want it to go wide again. I kind of like how it's thin there, so I'm actually going to keep it thin. Just cut it down. Actually, it might even go a little bit thinner, like this. You can create whatever shapes your heart desires here and see what it comes up with, but I like having it more narrow there. Add our glue. Make sure we got a good amount of glue at the end. Yeah, your fingers are going to definitely be gluey, but it's worth it. And then we created that fun shaped bead. So it's a little bit wider here in the middle. All right, I'm going to go ahead and try this one. And it is a little wide. So let's cut it down. We'll do about 3/4 of an inch. So we've got our beads all rolled up, and I did a few extra ones. So I did some with really small strips, or I did one with really small strips, and some wider ones. You can do them, again, like I said, whatever shape you want. Now the book page, because it was older, it gave me a little bit of troubles because it was brittle. So just be careful if you're using older papers. Our next step, we are going to need, like I said, our embossing dabber or our Versamark watermark stamp and some clear embossing powder. You're also going to need a heat gun. I am bringing out my Tim Holtz craft mat here just because the watermark and the embossing liquid gets really sticky. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can bring back your knitting needle or whatever your round object was, and you're simply going to roll this on your Versamark watermark pad. And you're just getting it all covered, making sure all that paper is getting nice and glossy with that liquid. Okay, you can see that there, it's kind of a lot more shiny. Just like that. And then you're going to dip it into your embossing powder. Now I need more embossing powder, so I'm just going to take that off, just get it all coated. I think we were good there. Make sure I don't have any inside or too much powder inside. Just like that. And then cover this up. Then we are going to take our heat gun and we're going to heat set that embossing powder. Okay, so this has been heat set. We do want to be careful not to touch it. We need to let that embossing powder set up, and your kneading needle, if it's metal, is going to be hot. So be careful when you go to take this off. You just want to let it cool off. And it's still a bit warm, but here we go. We have our cool bead that looks like it is glass. Isn't that great? Okay, so I'm going to try the next one. Let's try this dauber. I haven't used this in years and I'm not sure if it's any good, but we can try. All right, so let's try this one here. Just pressing it on there. Use my knitting needle again. Just dabbing it on. Yeah, it's coming out, so it should be okay. Just like that. Try to see if I can get the ends too. All right. Again, we'll roll it in the embossing powder. Make sure it's good and covered. I'm just going to wipe a bit off of my knitting needle. And then we go ahead and start the process of heating it up again. And I just love how the embossing powder turns that glossy color. So let's go ahead and start the heating process. So our beads are all heat set with that embossing powder. Don't they look great? I think they're so much fun. And you can even step them up a bit. You can leave them like this if you like. Just that's usually how I use them. Or you can even take some eyelets to give it a little more professional look, and you can glue eyelets on either end. So if you have some eyelets that fit, oops. So let's see if we can go ahead and do that. Find my art glitter glue. So go ahead and just place some glue in there. Put in our eyelet. Same thing on the other end. Let that sit for a bit. And then you have a bead that looks like it is a real glass bead with those eyelets. That'll have to sit just a little bit more. But there you go. So this is our fun paper bead project. Let's go ahead and move on to working with our buttons. So for our beautiful buttons, we are just going to use the same sort of scraps, not necessarily the strips, but any other scraps that you have around. I have some book page that I glued many different layers together. Actually, I just kept folding and gluing this particular one so it's thick enough, and I just used Uhu glue stick to glue that down. I have some dictionary that is on a piece of scrap cardstock. I actually have some old business cards that I glued paper on both sides so you could have a double-sided button. You don't have to. Most of mine are just blank on the back because I intend to glue them down. But if you want them double-sided, if you want to hang them off of a dangle, then you can definitely double-side them. So this is just a business card. Business cards are great for their weight. Then we have just some leftover digitals. I think these are going to be great. And map paper. So let's go ahead and we'll need a punch of some sort. You can actually do your buttons like really big. You can have huge big buttons if you want to put them as a focal point in front of your journal. Like I said, you can use them for dangles. You can just put some thread through them, and they're nice and flat as opposed to real buttons that you can put on clusters, tags, journal cards, even just attach them to the page itself. Use them as like little tabs. Again, any size you want. For the holes, I actually created these little templates. So I have a 4-hole template and 2-hole template, and I prefer to use my Crocodile 2, this kind of big bite guy, because it has that smaller, 1/8 of an inch little hole. So I like to use this one for my buttons. You can just use like a regular hole punch if you want, but this one is a much bigger hole. So you need probably a larger button for that sort of thing. You can also just use a pokey tool if you want, or your awl. So if you want to create just, a little hole and then put the string through, that's fine as well. It's just they won't look as circular as if you do it with a punch. Okay, so let's glue this down. This is going to need some time to dry before we start punching it. So let me get just some book page here. Oh, music paper would also be good for buttons. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I have this map here, so I thought we would use this map. Well, this is a good... Actually, I'm going to see if I can use my other... I've got another glue book on the go here that I want to use up before I start another one. So let's go ahead and pick a side. I think I like this side better. Just put some glue, making sure we get lots of glue on there because we don't want that paper to lift off. Again, you can create as many layers as you want for as thick of a button as you want. I like to keep mine a little bit on the thinner side, especially if I'm going to be putting glossy accents or Nouveau crystal drops over top, because that will add some dimension to your button. This one isn't, where's one here? It'll give it that shine, and it'll give it a little bit more dimension as well as give it some more stability to your button. But having them plain, like this one is just, I might have actually used just some Mod Podge on this one, and then I have some that don't have anything on them, that they're just the plain paper. So cover them however you like. Let me just use my scraper here just to make sure I've got everything down nicely. Okay, so while that has some time to dry, let's go ahead and punch some out of here. Oh, this is beautiful paper. Ooh, a little bit tough because I've got so many layers on there, or it's a thicker cardstock. So we'll just cut some of these out. Do a couple of those. Those again are just single-sided. Let that dry just a little bit more. Let's do some. This is a little bit thinner, but it's that dictionary page. I think that'll look cool as a button. Do a couple of those. It's a little easier to punch through on that. And then we have our business card, our double-sided. Again, this is a great way to use your less loved scrapbook paper, and I might even kind of want to get that. Ooh, let's try this one. That will look cool. Which way am I going to go here? This way. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Ooh, that one was a little tougher. Oh, did I gum up my... There we go. So that business card one was definitely tougher, again, because we double-sided that. So I'm going to go actually to the book page here. Great way to use up book page is make buttons out of them. That is for sure. Okay, and then we'll do some from here, from this map. Oh, that one was tough. We can get one more. Yeah, so this is a way to really, oops, where'd that come from? Build up your stash of buttons. Then from there, with my book page ones, I do like to ink them up a bit, just to make them look a bit older, depending on what type of book page you're using. You can even do this with your alcohol inks on photo paper, or I'm not sure how well Yupo paper punches, but definitely using up your alcohol inks on some photo paper looks really, really cool if you just do those designs and then punch out. I tried to find where my stash of that was, because I did create some alcohol inks samples before, but I don't know where I put them, so I'll have to see if I can find them. And then you can also use your gold gilding. Let's see if I can find that. I have it here. So yeah, you can use this stuff. Oh, it's all dried up, of course. But using your gold little gilding and go around the edges, grunge them up. Let's just go ahead and throw this in the garbage right away. See, this is why you need to use up your products, guys. Don't save them for a rainy day because they'll dry out. I do have some other ones somewhere, but you get the idea. So let's go ahead and punch some holes. Let's ink this up. Oops. Yeah, this one would look good with some gilding wax on it for sure. Okay, and I'm going to use my little template. This one is going to be a 2-hole button. Grab my big bite guy here. Let's put the lid on our glue. And we'll go ahead, and I know it's hard for you guys to see, but I'm lining up the holes to go through the punch. Just like that. And you can space them out however you like, but I find that using a template works really well because then I've got the holes exactly where I want them to be each time. And if you want, you can give it a little more inking. And then from there, what you can do is, I'm going to bring out my mat. This is going to take some time for this to dry, but you take your glossy accents or your Nouveau crystal glaze, and you just go ahead and go over top of the button, trying to make sure that it's even layer, but this will take some time to dry. Just going around that circle there, and this will create that really glossy button. Again, you don't have to have it glossy. You can just keep it matte, or you can go over it with your what is it, Mod Podge, glossy Mod Podge. You can also This one is a bit gummy. Definitely going to get my hands dirty and sticky, but that's okay. So there we go. We've got that. Can you see how glossy that is? Look at that. That's going to be a beautiful glossy button. So we've got that. I'm going to set that aside to dry. But we can also use our Versamark again. So I will grab my tweezers here. Which one do we want to do? We need to poke holes in one. Let's do our book page. Let me just give this a little bit more ink. Let's do a 4-hole punch on this one. So I'm just lining it up in my template. When you create the template, it goes a lot quicker, that's for sure, to get the holes in the right place. There we go. Got my holes done. Maybe just give a little more ink, and then from here we're going to pat it all down on our Versamark watermark ink pad, or you can use, again, this dauber, whatever you have. That's all nice and wet. Take it now, dip it into the embossing powder. It's all covered, and I'm just going to hold it like this. And I will go ahead and heat that up again. So there you go, you've got a nice little glossy button. And that didn't take long at all to dry with that embossing powder. So then from there you can just go ahead and add your strings if you like. I'm going to go ahead and finish some of these off, and then I will come back and show you what I've got finished. Alright guys, I am back, and here are the finished buttons. So this one is really cool. It is just a piece of junk mail that had some pretty colors, and I just punched it out, created the little holes, and then used the Nouveau Crystal Drops glaze on it. Isn't that cool? So junk mail can make really cool, interesting buttons as well. I created some big ones in different shapes. Those are a lot of fun. I did put a little bit of that metallic on the edge of them. I also used this metallic Craftwork pen. It's a water-based, and it says it's low odor. And I just used that to kind of go in and kind of color the insides of those buttons just a bit. So I think that's a lot of fun as well. And what else do we have? This one is really cool. It turned out really well. I ended up putting some eyelets in the holes that I cut there, and then I did some more of that gilding or that gold on it. I also, on some of them here with this one, I just used some acrylic craft paint. And then on this one here, I used just some sparkle kind of paint that I had. Actually, I lied. It was this. It was this liquid metals, this metallic, kind of like almost like an alcohol ink. That's what I used. I brushed that on this one. How pretty is that? There's the map. Then we've got some of them where I tied some embroidery floss in there. Hopefully you can see that little green in there. This one I used the Nouveau Crystal Glaze as well. Which one was it? This one as well. I just inked and used the Nouveau Crystal Glaze. There's some here. This one here was the, is it this one? No, this one, sorry. This one here is the embossing powder. which is really cool. So yeah, you can make all sorts of these buttons and just have them in your stash. This is less loved scrapbook paper that makes really cool buttons. So that was a lot of fun to do. And then here again, these are our paper beads that we made. I added some of this stuff on the edge of here to make it look like the bead is a bit finished. And then I created, we've got more here, look at all of these to play with. And then I just created this fun dangle with some real beads and then our paper beads. I'm just using some embroidery floss, sorry. And this is a ribbon crimp, so I can actually crimp this on the edge of a spine of a journal. And look at that, how cool are those? Look at that, didn't those turn out really well? They look like real glass beads, but they're nice and light, which is super fun. Just use some of these little spacer beads over top. I think that is a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed my take on the letter B for beads and buttons. Again, make sure you head over and see all the collaborators who are working on this. I am not a collaborator, I'm just joining in. I hope to join in for tomorrow's, which is the letter C. If you're looking for the dates and the corresponding alphabet letters, make sure you head over to Margaret at Seven Plaza's Ko-fi shop. She has that free download for you, as well as some prompt words. So yeah, it'll be a fun A to Z little follow along, and I hope I can participate some more. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one. P.S. I love you.